Everybody's waiting for the perfect moment to buy real estate. And I hate to break it to you, but that moment is never coming. The market doesn't care about your comfort zone, and neither does time. Right now, people are frozen, paralyzed between high prices on one side and elevated interest rates on the other, and the result is that they're doing absolutely nothing. Inaction is still a decision, and historically, it's been one of the most expensive ones people make. Let's talk about what's actually driving this hesitation. Because it isn't just fear, it's information overload wrapped in a headlines-driven anxiety loop. When every news segment is screaming about affordability crises and rate hikes, your brain starts treating caution like wisdom, even when it isn't. Just a few years ago, people were throwing offers on homes sight unseen, waiving inspections, going 30, 40, 50,000 over asking without blinking. Now that same energy has completely reversed, and suddenly everyone's a patient, disciplined investor. Funny how that works. The psychological whiplash from that boom to freeze cycle is real, and experts like Robert Shiller have spent careers documenting how emotion, not logic, drives most real estate decisions at both the peak and the bottom. The problem is that by the time fear feels rational, opportunity is usually already walking out the door. Here's a history lesson nobody wants to hear. Every single decade since the 1970s has had a worst time ever to buy real estate. And every single decade, the people who bought anyway came out ahead over a long enough timeline. 1981 had mortgage rates at 18%. 18% and people still bought. And those people are now sitting on generational wealth. Real estate moves in cycles, just like everything else. And we are currently somewhere in the uncomfortable middle of one, which, if you study the pattern, is historically where the best entry points quietly hide. The community of seasoned investors will tell you the same thing. Nobody rings a bell at the bottom, but the people who act during uncertainty are the ones writing the books later. Now, let's kill the biggest misconception right now. High interest rates do not mean high forever, but low prices almost never come back once a market recovers. You can refinance a rate. You cannot renegotiate the price you paid 3 years after appreciation has already run. The practical lesson here is not to be reckless, it's to be calculated, which means knowing your numbers cold, understanding your cash flow, and never stretching so thin that one bad month breaks you. Position size matters more than conviction. A smaller, smarter deal you can actually sustain beats a big swing you can't survive. Discipline in real estate looks boring on purpose. It's monthly rent checks, compounding equity, depreciation write-offs, and a long-term horizon that doesn't flinch every time Jerome Powell opens his mouth. The investors who win aren't the ones with the hottest takes. They're the ones with the most boring, consistent strategy repeated over decades. There's also something deeply philosophical happening. When you choose to act in an uncertain market, you're essentially betting on your own ability to manage risk rather than waiting for the universe to remove it. And the universe, for the record, has never once removed all the risk. It just repackages it under a friendlier headline. The irony is almost poetic. The market feels safest right when it's most expensive, and it feels most dangerous right when it's most accessible. We are wired completely backwards for this, and knowing that is half the battle. So yes, prices are still high in many markets. And yes, rates are not where any of us would like them, but inventory is rising, negotiating power is returning, and sellers are blinking first in ways they weren't 2 years ago. That is not a crisis, that is a window. Whatever happens next, with rates, with prices, with a broader economy, the prepared investor is comfortable with multiple outcomes because their strategy doesn't depend on being right about timing, only right about fundamentals. Comfort doesn't come from certainty, it comes from preparation. If you're ready to stop waiting and start moving, whether that means real estate investing, finding the right contractor for a renovation project, or connecting with lenders who actually understand your goals, check out our links in the description below and let's get you started.